Managing strategic change. Part A. Apply different types of strategic change and their implications. The need for strategic changes can arise from a number of sources. Some of the sources are changes in the environment, a review of strategic compatibility, or a decision to implement a new strategy. Basically, strategic changes can be analysed based on the type of change required. Changes can be of two types, such as scope of change and nature of change. The model represents the common, basic assumptions and beliefs believed by those within the organisation. The nature of change may be incremental and built on existing methods and approaches. Otherwise, it may require a Big Bang approach, mostly in the case when rapid response is required, such as in times of crisis. The scope of changes can be of two types, such as realignment and transformation. Similarly, the nature of changes can be of two types, incremental or a Big Bang. All four types of changes can be summarized into four factors, such as adaptation, reconstruction, evolution, and revolution. Adaptation is the most common type of change. It does not require the development of a new model and proceeds step by step. The majority of changes fall into this category. Reconstruction can also be undertaken within an existing model, but it requires rapid and extensive actions. It is a common response to a long-term decline in performance. An example would be cost-cutting in response to falling profits. Evolution is an incremental process that leads to a new paradigm. It may arise from careful analysis and planning, or may be the result of learning processes. Its transformational nature may not be obvious while it is taking place. Revolution is a rapid and wide-ranging response to extreme pressures for change. A long period of strategic drift may lead to a crisis that can only be dealt with in this way. Part B. Analyse the culture of an organisation using Balogun and Hope-Haley's contextual features. According to Balogun and Hope-Haley's contextual features model, organisational change can be considered under 8 general factors. These contextual features can all be used while analysing the culture of an organisation. The time available may vary dramatically, but can often be quite limited when responding to competitive or regulatory pressure. The preservation of some organisational characteristics and resources may be required. Changes to cultural status symbols such as office locations and job titles may cause resistance towards the change program if not carefully managed. Diversity of general experience, opinion and practice are likely to ease the change process. An organisational culture where the sharing of ideas and challenging of existing ways of working is common practice may prove useful when implementing a change program. The capability to implement change is very important. This depends on past experiences of change projects, both among managers and among lower-level staff. Their indicated past experiences provide a useful insight into how future change proposals will be treated by staff. Capacity to undertake change depends on the availability of resources, but it is important to note that unrealisable or outdated systems could become a blockage in the change process. The degree of workforce readiness for change will affect its success. Readiness may be contrasted with resistance to change, which can exist at varying levels of intensity and may be widespread or confined to pockets. The power to effect change may not be sufficient to overcome determined resistance among important stakeholder groups. Overcoming cultural resistance to change will require senior management to adopt an appropriate leadership style to create buy-in to the change. Part C. Manage change in the organisation using Lewin's 3-stage model. The crux of change is that it enables a person, department or an organisation to move from a current state to a future state. According to Lewin, key stages involved in the successful implementation of an organisational change are unfreeze, change, and refreeze. Organisational change not only involves learning something new, but it also involves relearning, which means trying to unlearn what is already known. Practicing the relearning concept in an organisation comes under the unfreeze stage. Unfreeze is the first step of the organisational changes. It mainly involves unfreezing the current state of affairs and generating the motivation towards changes. This process includes defining the current state of an organisation, highlighting the forces driving, resisting change, and picturing a desired end state. The change stage mainly involves learning new ways of working in an organisation. This is the transition stage, by which an organisation moves from its current state to its future state. It is important that an organisation encourages the participation and involvement of its staff in this phase. Their participation is required so that they do not feel separated by the change process. The refreeze stage mainly involves stabilising the new state of affairs by setting policies to implant new behaviours and new standards. It is crucial for an organisation that the changes are embedded throughout an organisation to ensure that staff do not lapse back into old patterns of behaviour.